Hello, and welcome to the City of Richmond's RVAgreen 2050 overview. My name is Kendra Norrell, and I'm the Community Engagement Coordinator with the Office of Sustainability in the City of Richmond. And here you can also see my email address. And please feel free to contact me if you have any questions, concerns, or anything that you want to see out of the ambassador program or with our engagement process, either in the present or in the future. We are open to receiving any sort of community feedback in that manner as well. Today, I'm going to start the overview of what RVAgreen 2050 is. So RVAgreen 2050 is our integrated, equity-centered climate action and resilience initiative. We are using this to help reduce greenhouse gas emissions community-wide and to help the City of Richmond adapt to climate change in the present as well as in the future. So this community-wide initiative is centering our communities that are on the front line of climate change, and those communities are disproportionately Black, Brown, and low income. And we were able to identify these communities by using our Climate Equity Index map, which you should be able to find the link to on the website to help you see exactly where in the City of Richmond we're focusing a lot of our intentions, as well as the factors that overlay that to help explain why these communities are at a higher risk for climate change impacts. So part of the reason that we're focusing on those communities is because we're centering equity in this process, and it's important for us to acknowledge the disproportionate impacts on these communities, especially since they are from historical racism and underinvestment in the City of Richmond. And so we are intentionally working with that in mind, as well as intentionally trying to engage residents from those communities. So through our process of targeted universalism, we will increase communication that is focusing on the emotional, social, and cultural values of a lot of these communities. And this will allow us to engage with necessary resources and multiple paths so that we can create a Richmond that is beneficial to everyone within the city and really helps to acknowledge a lot of the inequities that exist here. Later on in this presentation, we will also hear from two of my coworkers on climate resilience and climate mitigation, and how that is also part of RVAgreen 2050. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Dawn Oleksy, Climate Action Program and Operations Supervisor for the City of Richmond. I'm here today to talk to you a little bit about climate action and mitigation measures. So first of all, what is climate? Well, climate describes the average conditions of a region over a 30-plus year period, and it includes such things as precipitation, average temperature, humidity, and other factors. The climate of a region is what sets the environmental conditions for us to grow and thrive. So the climate that we live in is essential to our health and well-being, and we are all interconnected through our shared environment. So what is climate change? Well, that's a shift in that long-term pattern and causes great disruptions to our lives in many ways, which you'll hear more about in a minute. However, in the meantime, it is important to understand exactly what causes climate change. First, the greenhouse effect is caused by the Earth's atmosphere trapping a certain amount of the sun's heat, which then warms the Earth's surface. This is a good thing as long as we don't add to it, but when our carbon footprint is larger than it should be, it keeps the Earth warmer than it would otherwise be, and our ecosystems become unbalanced. Within Richmond city limits, we have done a lot of tracking to identify the top contributors to greenhouse gas emissions and found that the emissions generated from the energy that we use in our buildings and from transportation and from solid waste are the top contributors. We have also done a lot of modeling to mitigate our carbon footprint, and you can see here that we've identified the scenarios that have the greatest impact in reducing emissions through things such as energy efficiency in our buildings, benchmarking, solar installations, looking at electrification and our transportation and our solid waste. So what role do Richmonders play specifically? Well, every time we use energy in our homes and buildings, or drive our cars, or throw out waste that has to be landfilled or incinerated, we are creating those emissions that warm our atmosphere. And in turn, we are creating a host of challenges that have the potential to negatively impact our daily lives. But through mitigation measures and working with us, we can solve a lot of these issues.
Hi, my name is Brianne Mullen, and I am the Sustainability Coordinator for the City of Richmond Office of Sustainability. And I'm going to introduce another key piece of RVAgreen 2050, which is climate resilience. This is also referred to or known as climate change adaptation, preparedness, and readiness. And we are conducting resilience planning as part of RVAgreen 2050 to identify and implement actions that will reduce community vulnerability to the impacts of climate change. And this will help our community adapt to changes in the environment. Climate change is already impacting Richmond, and we are seeing those impacts now. Over the last few years, we've seen changes such as warmer temperatures, more extreme heat, earlier and more severe pollen seasons, and more dangerous weather, such as heat waves and flooding. These changes that we're seeing are early signs that Richmond faces risks due to climate change. Those risks are due to the climate impacts of extreme heat and extreme precipitation, and also future impacts of a rising sea level that will affect the James River. We're also looking at climate shocks, such as floods and storms. These impacts pose risks to our residents, communities, infrastructure, natural assets, and government services. For example, people with respiratory illnesses, such as asthma, are more susceptible to heat-related illness. A natural disaster, such as a flood, may impact access to important services and resources, such as transportation, food, and shelter. The Office of Sustainability is conducting a climate vulnerability and risk assessment to better understand the impacts of climate change affecting Richmond and the risks to our community caused by those impacts. In the meantime, as part of this assessment, we've created the Climate Equity Index, which is an interactive tool you can use to explore the potential impacts to your neighborhood posed by things like extreme heat and flooding. You can learn more at rvagreen2050.com.